So many of you reached out to me and you were asking me to watch this debate on the PBD podcast. Now, I don't usually watch this podcast, but I did check out this debate because so many of you contacted me and said, you have to watch this discussion. So I watched it and we're going to talk about it. This is also in reference to Israel and Gaza. This conversation got very heated. I was just like, this is cringe as fuck. I was like, this is very cringe. Very cringe. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. So the PBD podcast debate, this is between Adam and Bassem Youssef. So Bassem Youssef is an Egyptian comedian. He's very funny. This isn't the first time that he's talked about this issue, but things really did go down on the PBD podcast. So let's get into this debate here about Israel and Gaza.
The problem that I have with you is that either you're anti-Israel or you're just intellectually lazy. Hear me out. Every problem.
So this is Adam. For those wondering who this guy is, this is the Adam guy.
Nice insult. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Every
insulting me very softly.
I am because I believe in having discussion and being forthright rather than when you leave, I'll be like, fuck that guy. I actually think you're a smart guy. I actually think you know your stuff. You're just so fixated that Israel's the problem. The problem in the Middle East, like I said, follow the money. The countries that are succeeding, the Qataris, even the Saudis these days, they're coming into the modern world. They're leaving the 6th century mentality behind and say, let's get into the 21st century, where they need to succeed in whether it's Gaza or whether it's Lebanon or whether it's Syria and whether Afghanistan. They need to focus on GDP, not GDT. Gross domestic product, not gross domestic terrorism. And the problem is they're obsessed. Put the guns down. Put the Quran down. Actually start living by the words that the Quran says, not some false.
So let me go ahead and interrupt him here for just a second. So he said to put the Quran down, but then he also says, live by the words the Quran says. But you want them to put it down? Oh my gosh, I can't make this one up.
Equivalent of what they think is actually going on there. You talk about the genocide in Israel or in Gaza as if it's just a matter of fact. Well, let me show some stats for you, because after you see these stats, Israel's the worst genociders ever. The numbers, according to the world data, if you trust data, between 1990 and 2022, the Palestinian population overall went from 2 million to 5 million, okay?
Pause. So you guys, after you listen to the talking points from RFK Jr. and you hear this guy's talking points, like I told you, this is a part of the Zionist playbook. Notice they all have the same talking point. The population of the Palestinian people increased. Same thing over and over.
Okay. Pretty bad at genocide if that's what's happening right there. In Gaza, it went from 645,000 to 2.1 million. It's 3x. That ain't genocide to me. Now, to 20,000 people, 30,000 people needlessly killed during this bullshit war that was started by Hamas, is that horrible? 1,000,000%. And any Jew or any Israeli...
Give me that number again. 600,000 to what?
645,000 to 2.1 million.
From what to, from when to where?
This is in 1990 to 2022.
Do you know why they increased?
Because they're having babies like crazy.
No. You see, this is how like when you watch data while being uninformed makes you look very stupid.
Tell me why.
See, he's starting to sweat now. And notice Bassem is pretty calm.
Tell me how the population has gone from 2 million to 5 million.
Yeah, because most of the 1.5 extra million didn't come from Gaza. They were pushed away from other parts of Israel. So almost
everybody heard that. Okay. And by the way, this is just common sense. It's common sense. Like if all of a sudden the population from Boston went from 660,000 people to 1 million people. And I mean in Boston, not this greater Boston area, but in Boston went from 660,000 to 1 million people. Well, people will be like, oh my God, did all those people in Boston have that many kids? No, people moved here. It's common sense. It really is common sense. People were put here. That's how you increase the population of the people. Still doesn't mean Israel wasn't killing a lot of people. Still doesn't mean that Israel doesn't going into Gaza and mowing the lawn, as Norm Finkelstein says. So, the Zionist talking points.
These people, they have increased because of refugees being kicked out.
If you're talking about the settlers, those are tens of thousands.
I'm talking about
those aren't millions of people.
Dude, listen, my wife's family is not from Gaza, and yet they found themselves in Gaza because they were sitting in other cities and villages outside Gaza. This is the systemic pushing of people from other parts of Israel, pushing them to Gaza. That's not
millions of people. This is why I said that you're intellectually dishonest or intellectually lazy.
No,
that's not the cause of millions of people being moved. I'm familiar with the settler stuff and the disengagement in 2006.
But Zionist playbook number 2. Okay, this is another thing that they do. When you start debunking their lies, they interrupt you and try to talk over you. Alan Dershowitz does this. Piers Morgan does this. Michael Rappaport does this. This is what they do because they know, like, I'm being caught in a lie. Let me try to continue to overtalk them.
What you're talking about? These are people that
millions of people.
What?
Okay.
The people who belong to Gaza are 700,000 people. Right now, Gaza is 2.2 million. That is not birth rate, my friend. These are people pushed from. And by the way, that's not the first time. 1948, at the night of the declaration of the State of Israel, 1.5 million Palestinians were moved overnight. So it's not the first thing. So before you giving me numbers you want to appear smart, know what are behind the numbers, because these are not people giving babies.
Okay.
These are people being pushed from other places in order to be part of the open air prison that it is.
Okay. So then,
it's not delivered.
If you want to fact check me, let me fact check you. Anytime that there's numbers increasing, Bassem, going from 650, 450, whatever you want to call it, to 2 million, however it happens, that's the exact opposite of a genocide. So the whole genocide, the whole open air prison are talking points. Are talking points of BS.
No.
So you notice what he slid in there? Now he's sliding in the open air prison is also BS. Are the people not fenced in? Can Palestinian people just exit the gate of Gaza into Israel? No, they can't. Not without special permission. And there have been Palestinians that have been denied that type of access, even for healthcare. So if you have cancer, which I would have to look into the cancer rates in Gaza, if it's somewhat high, I would not be surprised because they have dirty water, right? So if you were someone that has cancer in Gaza, that's not something they can treat at the hospitals there. So you would have to submit a request to be treated at a hospital in Israel that is more advanced, that can treat that particular illness. There have been Palestinians, and I saw this when Anya actually she was covering the story for RT back in the day. There are Palestinians that are denied that right. Just flat out denied. No, you cannot come to the Israeli hospital. So they die. If they weren't in a prison, they could just leave freely. They can't just walk out the gates.
This is why I said you were intellectually lazy, or you just hate Israel.
Basically, this whole thing about you hate Israel and hate Islam, this is a very lazy way to talk to people.
It's kind of like your thing.
What did I tell you that is so lazy? What did I tell you, like you're fucking racist?
Because you've already said that multiple times.
No, I didn't say.
Yeah, you said that multiple times.
I said your undertone is racist.
So not me, but what's going on inside of me.
And someone like the way that you analyze numbers is very lazy, because again,
really, when I actually use stats and data from the most credible sources, that's lazy.
These are numbers that were outside of Gaza.
You've said no stats. You've given a fucking opinion
like
the whole time.
That California has increased triple, or this has people in Texas increased because of birth rate. No, they increased because people from California started moving.
Yep.
voluntarily. You have pushed 1.5 million people outside of Gaza, inside of Gaza in a matter of 12 years. And that's why the number has inflated. It's not because they were giving birth rate.
So then,
where's
the genocide?
They were evacuated.
Where's this alleged genocide happening?
So see, once Bassem here was able to debunk his population claim, now it's where's this genocide at?
Happening right now under your eyes.
So as of 3 months ago, there was no genocide. So it's just a new.
Well,
thing.
we didn't actually use the word genocide before 3 months ago.
Okay, but you've been calling for the river for the sea.
We didn't use it
for decades.
Well, also Israel have a lot of maps that is putting in the greater Israel from the Nile and the Euphrates. That's genocide for 5 countries there. And this is not by people in the street or people on YouTube. These are ministers. These are officials in the official government of Netanyahu. If you have someone, an Arab president, like the Egyptian president or the Jordanian king tell you from the river and the sea, it's like, oh, it's the Arab authorities. You are basically complaining people on Facebook and the official viewpoint of the Israeli government. You're basically comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't make any sense. You're basically comparing activists with people with power, with money, and with weapons. So I don't know how come you're comparing them.
What's your solution?
See, that's a really good point. Like, people, the Zionists are more upset with the activists, those of us in the streets that have literally no, we don't have the amount of power that Israel has, right? We have power in numbers, but we don't have the resources that the state of Israel has or anything like that. So they're more upset with us. We're not the ones out there killing people. We're not the ones that enclosed Palestinian people. You see, this has been a very well-kept secret, I think, for a long time. Those of us that have been following this issue for the past couple years or whatever, we've known about it. But what I noticed was after October 7th, it was really interesting how many people I came across that had no idea that people were imprisoned in this fenced-in area like cattle. People had no idea. You wouldn't believe the number of people I've spoken to that until October 7th, they did not know that Palestinian people were being treated this way. So for a long time, this has been a particularly well-kept secret, unless you've been paying attention to international affairs. I mean, it's not in our history books. Think about it, folks. And we're going back to 1948 now. This is not in the history books, not in the history textbooks that I had in school. So they were able to keep this undercover. Now, because of the war, now they can't do that. So when you hear this statement from Joe Biden, which says to Netanyahu, Israel is losing support, something's got to give here. Why is Israel losing that support? Because the people are starting to wake up and say, okay, they're killing too many people. Okay, they told the people to move from the north to the south, but now they're bombing in the south too. Oh, wait, the people can't just leave the area at all? Oh, what the hell is going on here? Then you also see on the news, they're talking about the illegal settlements in the West Bank, the Palestinians being removed from their homes in the West Bank. So then people are like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me all this time there's this military force there and they have been actually kicking Palestinian people out of their homes? And this is still happening now? So the cat is out the bag. And I think for a lot of us that watch, we're like, well, yeah, of course, everybody knows about this, but they didn't. A lot of people didn't know this was happening. Just like a lot of people didn't know about those concentration camps. Let's continue.
You got all these answers and we have no solutions. What's your solution?
Justice. Stop killing people and give them back their land. That's it.
Okay.
And giving
Zionist playbook number 3. Okay. You're right about the population thing. Okay, I get it. All right. Oh, okay. You've been able to prove okay. You say it's a genocide, yada, yada. What's the solution?
them back the land, it's going to be a much more complicated thing.
Who's going to lead your negotiations? Mahmoud Abbas, 88 years old?
I have no idea, man.
No,
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the point, is you don't have an idea.
Well, when I say I have no idea, I'm being humble, because there's a million people who can do it, but like, I'm not a politician, I'm a comedian. I come here to tell some of my opinions, but the thing is, you want to put me, and you use that, and you give me, I'm sorry to say, butchered political information and numbers that doesn't say anything.
Stats are really butchered in political.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you have all the solutions for Israel, but you have no solutions for Gaza or Hamas. Very interesting.
Because the people in Gaza are not in power, Adam. They don't control any of the resources. Gaza does not have a military. Israel controls the land, the air, the water, the food that comes into Gaza. They control whether or not people can exit Gaza just to get treatment at a hospital in Israel. This is the dumbest thing I ever. It's just stupid. That's like looking back and saying, okay, it seems like all the solutions that you have are for the slave owners and not the slaves. It's clown shit.
Very interesting how you can critique everything that's going on in Israel. Yes, they do have some things they need to rectify. Just like the United States, just like any democracy. You've got all the answers there, Bassem. When I said, what do they do over here in Gaza? What do they do? I have no idea. I'm just a comedian. Don't listen to me. So which one is it? You either know your shit or you're actually...
So what was your question? What's the solution
so
for
what's
Israel?
The solution
I said Israel
for
take
Gaza?
Back the land. For Gaza, how about you stop the killing and then we can talk?
Okay, so let's say we do that.
Okay.
So here's what I believe. I think we need to demilitarize Gaza. We need to de-radicalize, because they're the leading.
How are you going to deregulate? How do you do
well,
that?
maybe let's stop.
So how about
let's stop summer schools where they teach about jihad and they start playing football.
Okay, so you want to demilitarize Gaza, but Israel is allowed to remain militarized? Hells no. That's like taking all the guns from the American people, but the police still have guns. Would you be okay with that, folks? Would you be okay if the U.S. government came in and said, that's it, we're taking everybody guns away. Doesn't matter if you're a registered gun owner or not. But from now on, the only people who are going to carry guns in this country are the cops. Hells no.
How about the religious schools in Israel that actually tell people that we should kill all Arabs? And these
well,
videos are
you know all those Jews that are running around bombing everywhere around the world? No, it doesn't fucking exist.
Oh,
it's
really?
only in Islam.
Oh, really? But what about the Jews killing the Palestinians inside?
I'm talking about around the world. If I said there was
we're bad people. We're bad people.
No,
Take us out.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, we're very hot.
Okay, what I'm saying is they need to.
Religion. We are a terrorist religion. Take it out.
You said it. Your words.
Let's do it.
You said it. Your words.
Yeah.
Your words.
Let's do it. I mean, like
your words.
This is like you have a really interesting outlook for people who look like me. You look at me and I'm Muslim, and you have all of these assumptions about me being a terrorist, while Islam is not a terrorist.
You said the words, Bassem. I didn't say those words.
You know what's the difference between Islam and terrorists? They go on like some rogue groups and they kill and they do shitty stuff. But you have like a whole country with a whole military arsenal who is committing terrorism every single day, backed up by the US.
There's your Israel talking.
Yeah. I'm going to talk it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Totally.
See, part of the Zionist playbook is to basically say that Israel was doing nothing wrong. That's basically what it is. You notice they never admit to any type of fault, anything that Israel has done wrong.
Cool.
My opinion.
Totally cool. Yeah. It's all good. But you're trying to tell me that Islam doesn't have a terrorist problem?
Muslims have a terrorist problem.
Correct.
It's like when you say Islam has a Muslim problem, when you say Judaism has a Muslim problem. All right. A lot of Muslims are assholes and they're doing horrible stuff. And I do not feel the need to defend those people because those people don't represent me. The thing is,
if Jews were running around all over the world blowing themselves up as suicide bombers, as a Jew, I'd be like, guys, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we?
No, you wouldn't. You would find a way to defend it, just like you're finding a way to defend the state of Israel right now. Get out of here with that.
What are we doing here?
Okay.
This is accomplishing nothing.
So let's
here's the reality. Jews aren't doing that, and Christians aren't doing that.
Jews are not.
Let me ask you a question.
They're not doing that in Gaza. They're not doing that in the West Bank.
Everything you talk about is.
I'm sorry, I got to debunk something here. Notice he made a mistake here. He threw in Christians. How many times have you heard about stories where Christians, more so extremists, have done those things? Whether it's abortion clinics, whether it's cult-like organizations that are Christian. There was a whole Waco, okay? The only reason I even know that Waco, Texas existed, there was a whole damn cult of people that followed this man who said he was Jesus. His name was David. They followed this guy to this compound in Waco, and they were so convinced this guy was Jesus, they poisoned their own damn kids. So I don't know if Christian was a good one to bring in there, Adam. You might have maybe wanted to leave that one out.
Gaza, I'm talking
because
about the
that's
world.
what's happening right
You're
now.
so obsessed with this one topic.
I am.
I'm trying
because
to understand
my family
the world.
Lives there.
Okay,
because my family lives there.
But my family's in Israel.
Really?
So only your family counts. My family doesn't count.
No. Okay, but like, did your family are like living in an open air prison and being killed every day?
The open air prison, the genocide. Get them.
You see how you
get them new talking
You see
points.
how
Open air prison.
No, his family is not in an open air prison. His family is allowed to move freely as they want to. That's the point that Bassem's trying to make to him. Your family, Adam's family has no restriction. He can walk about freely. For Palestinian people, it is not that way. Even for Palestinians that are Jews, by the way, they have restrictions too.
Only talking point.
Israel left Gaza in 2006.
It didn't leave. It left and they put it under blockade.
It's called a disengagement. Why do they have a blockade? Maybe because they're shooting missiles hundreds of times a day. Yeah, I'd pretty much put a country in a blockade if they were shooting missiles every single day.
Cut them from the sea, cut them from the water. It's like, okay, go live. How do you do that?
Let's move on.
They weren't shooting any missiles in 1948 during the Nakba. Hamas didn't even exist. So what's the excuse there? Adam, what's the excuse? Let's think about this for a second. What's the excuse for what's happening in the West Bank? Hamas isn't in the West Bank. What's the excuse there, Adam, when the UN has declared that those settlements are illegal? What's the excuse?
From Israel, because I know you're hyper obsessed with it. Why?
I'm not hyper obsessed. You keep asking me about Israel.
No, I ask you about the world, and I'm asking you about Christianity and Muslims and Judaism. You want to focus on Israel. Why can Muslims move to any Christian country they want, but Christians and Jews can move to 0 Muslim countries? Why is that?
What the hell is he? This was the dumbest. Oh my God. That is such... I know, trauma queen. This is the dumbest statement. I think, one of the dumb statements he made.
What about Dubai? What about
I'll ask it again.
What about all of these countries? What are you talking about?
You mean the country?
You're just mentioning Qatar and Dubai and all of there's like a lot of expats living there.
So this is my point. And I'm glad you're catching on.
Yeah.
That I'm not racist. I'm pointing out.
Well, there are Christian countries who like shit. I wouldn't lose that because of the economy.
I'm pointing out that in certain Muslim countries, they're getting it right. Or at least attempting to.
Good for them.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, good for them. Mm-hmm. Good for Qatar. Good for UAE. Good for Saudi and what MBS is doing. Good for them. They're examples of what could be done. Gaza, if they took the billions of government of international aid, could be Dubai, but they decided to make a terror state. So the question that I'm asking is,
are you saying that there's so many money coming in and just like Hamas used it in order to make weapons?
There's people of Hamas who are literal billionaires living in Qatar, flying around on private jets. How do you explain that?
They're horrible people, and I don't condone them. All right,
okay.
I'm talking about the millions of people in Gaza.
But horrible people, Hamas. Let's not talk about that. We'll move on. But Israel,
First of all, Americans, and in reference to expats, Americans live all over the world. You guys know that? All over the world. Australia, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. In fact, one of my former classmates lived in Egypt for a couple of years. Americans live all over the world. What the hell is Adam talking about?
Let me give you a dissertation over here.
Like
I'm trying to give you
some. You're just like shouting over me.
I'm not. Because every time I'm talking,
you are basically going around all of the stuff that's happening with Muslim people that is bad, and then basically what you're doing is you are undertoning. You are trying to find an excuse to keep that killing in Gaza continue because Muslims are bad, Muslims are terrorists, Muslims are poor. So let's just like kill those people in Gaza.
You are
this is exactly what you're doing.
Intellectually lazy. It's comical. because I'm not
Let's
even
do this.
talking about Gaza.
You keep insulting me.
We're
You keep
gonna
insulting
wrap
me
up.
Because I'm trying.
I could say like you are a motherfucking racist. You know, like how would you
What
feel
have I
if
said
said
that's
that?
racist? I'm saying that
Everything
there's
that you say about racists, the way that you speak about Muslims, that we are terrorists and we are horrible people. Basically, you're telling people that we deserve to die.
Bassem
And Israel
Youssef.
has everything.
Adam has had a couple of dog whistles during this conversation. And this is only a small part of the conversation, but the full conversation is, I think, almost 2.5 hours long. But I'm just saying, like, he's had some dog whistles coming out of here.
Thing to do in order to kill those people. Anyways, if
I've said zero of those words.
Hopefully, if
you were putting all those words in my mouth, I said zero of those
cousin
words.
who's a doctor get killed tomorrow, I'm gonna send you a postcard.
So if my actual cousin gets killed in Israel, that's okay.
They will not, because
That's
you know
okay.
what? They are safe because he is not living in an open air prison.
Why are they safe? Maybe because they have the Israeli Defense Force, the Iron Dome that stops all the missiles.
They don't have that.
Yeah, but
they don't have that.
Maybe you should have built that instead of tunnels.
With what?
With all the billions of foreign aid that was given.
So now he's saying that it's the Palestinians' fault. They should have built something like an Iron Dome. Okay, Adam, let's just sit back here and pretend like the U.S. government doesn't fund the Iron Dome. Let's sit back and pretend that the U.S. government doesn't give Israel $3.8 billion a year. The reality is all that money didn't come just from the Israeli economy. A lot of that money came from the United States.
What billion foreign aid are you? These,
how much money does Iran give? How much money does Qatar give? How much does the international community?
Actually trickled through Israel. You understand that Israel is actually holding
your
that
argument holds no weight because all you're doing is defending Hamas. You have zero argument.
I'm the last one to defend Hamas, by the way, and I've actually said the terrorist group, and I'm a big fan of Hamas. But I'm just giving you some facts. Every single money that goes into Gaza goes through Israel. As a matter of fact, Biden has a big problem with Netanyahu because he's withholding the tax money that paid by the Palestinian people to the Palestinian Authority, and Netanyahu is holding it back. Have you heard about that? Have you read about that? Just 2 days ago, if you're reading your stuff, but you don't. But the thing is, Netanyahu is holding back the tax money from the Palestinian in West Bank, and he's not giving it to
You're so funny, man. You're so funny.
No, you're just
saying
so ignorant.
You're saying all the money that's going to Hamas is coming through Israel? Sure.
Filtered through Israel.
Sure. All the money.
Israel controls the air, the land, and the sea. That's the point that Bassem is trying to make. Things just don't come into Gaza. Israel has to okay for something to go into Gaza. They don't let them bring in chocolate. They don't let them bring in chocolate. Like it's absurd.
Through Israel.
Yeah, all the money from Iran going right through Israel. Sure, that's likely. All the money from Qatar.
By Netanyahu in 2019, the Likud party telling them that he is actually overlooking the amount of money coming from Qatar, and he is doing that in order to split the Palestinian Authority. Listen to me.
I'm familiar with this. I'm not disagreeing.
How about you? Listen, educate yourself about that.
I'm not disagreeing that Netanyahu has done some fucked up things.
Here it is.
Okay.
Here it is. Oh my God. Here it is.
Biden is in frustrating call told Bibi to solve Palestinian tax revenue issue.
Because Israel is withholding the taxes. You understand every single money transaction.
That's your argument right there?
That's part of the argument. Every single money transaction, whether it's taxes, whether aids, it has to go through the Israeli government.
So all the money that Iran is funding Hamas, you're saying that goes through Israel? Is that what you're saying?
Hamas was funded by Israel, you big dummy. This guy is like, he's like I don't know. Like a dime store Ben Affleck. Like that's what I feel like I'm looking at and listening to right now. You have to remember, Israel created Hamas. They were funding them. It just, and he just leaves this out. It's easy to mention Iran. Everybody knows that. But tell the people something that they don't know, Adam. I mean, I'm looking at him and I'm getting Gone Baby Girl vibes or something. Gone Girl Gone? What is it? Gone Girl? The baby girl is gone? whatever.
Saying?
Through Qatar, through Israel.
Okay, that's so false. It's so flagrantly false.
I want you to educate yourself more.
Okay, I will. I'll go read up on this. But if you mean to tell me that Israel is intercepting the money that Iran is sending to Hamas and says, yeah, we'll send it to you guys, but believe me, they're not doing it.
By the way, it's 11:15. It's 11:15. We're going to wrap up. Here's what I will say. I'm going to be very honest with both of you guys. I mean, I've been listening to both of you guys, and I love this. I love this. Let me tell you why. The average American right now is sitting there. There's a group that agrees with you. There's a group that agrees with you.
I don't know how he was able to be quiet for the majority of that conversation. And that's not the entire conversation, but that's one of the parts that I think is really important for people to see. Thank you, Will. Gone Girl. Yes, Gone Girl is the movie. And then there's another one, I think, with the other Affleck. There's another one with Casey Affleck called Gone Baby Gone or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. Crazy conversation there, but I just want to show you for yourself so you can just see it for yourself. I mean, how more blatant do they have to be for people like Adam to really get it? Listen to this. This is Netanyahu.
For 30 years, I am very consistent, and I'm saying something very simple. This conflict is not on the lack of a state of Palestinian, but the existence of a state, the Jewish state. Every area that we evacuate, we receive terrible terror against that. It happened in South Lebanon, in Gaza, and also Judea and Samaria, which we did it. And therefore, I clarify that in other arrangement, any other arrangement, in the future, the state of Israel have to control on the entire area from the river to the sea.
You hear this? This is Netanyahu publicly stating that Israel will have control of the entire area from the river to the sea. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay to use the phrase from the river to the sea. It's okay for Israel to say it. It's not okay for the Palestinian people to say it. I don't know how much more blatant they have to be to prove to people what is the intention. And people will still sit back and say to you, there's no plan for ethnic cleansing. Motherfucker, do you have eyes? Boy, I tell you.